Commissioner Jones, Precinct 1.
Yeah, it's Peter Jones, Commissioner Jones, Precinct 1, present.
Linda Roschke, Precinct 2, present.
Mike Sandoval, Precinct 3, present.
Jerry Don Moss, Precinct 4, present.
Thanks, everybody. We had public comments. No one signed up for public comments. So we'll move on to the pledge. Got a flag? I'm gonna say the pledge. Y'all can say the pledge if you want. Pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America,
To
under God,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go ahead and go to the consent agenda. Agenda item 2. Anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
If not, I'll move to we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Who is that?
Commissioner Jones made a motion to approve consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 3 is public comments. There was no one signed up for public comments. We'll go to agenda item 4, update discussion on Llano COVID-19 response, including Llano County Emergency Declaration and report on information received from Office of the Governor and TDM and the local county health authority. We'll start with Dr. Franklin. Could you give us an update on where we're at on everything?
Happy to. We are, honestly, we're still in the same pattern that we were for the last month. We are continuing to only have 3 cases here in Llano County. We went through the initial testing with the Texas National Guard a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. All of those tests came back negative. We got no positives from them. The National Guard is supposed to come and do testing, I believe, Wednesday in Kingsland for another round. As far as testing from local doctors, we are running anywhere from 5 to 7 tests per day in the local area. That's, again, very difficult to quantify because a lot of those numbers come from Scott and White, and they don't differentiate between whether the test was done in Llano County, Burnett County, Blanco County. It's just it was done at Scott and White. So again, none of those tests have come back positive for Llano County. Looking at surrounding counties in the last week, there's sort of been a calm down of Burnett and Mason County, neither one of them showing any positive cases, I believe, actually in the last 6 to 7 days. So that has calmed down somewhat. From a state perspective, we're actually seeing more cases on a daily basis in the state. They're up to a little over 1,000 cases per day. Realize we're also doing about twice as many tests in the state as we were 2 weeks ago. So are we seeing more cases, or are we just testing more? It's a question that's beyond my pay grade, but I tend to say that the percentage of tests that are coming back positive are much decreased from what they were before. So that sort of in a nutshell is where we are right now. Again, we are about the same as we were 4 weeks ago from cases, and hoping the summer and the heat will slow this thing down.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Franklin?
Yes, sir. Dr. Franklin, did you include Mason in that surrounding county? Could you talk about them a little bit if you have any information about Mason County?
I have basically what has been shared on the Texas Department of State Health Services website, they went from one case about 3 weeks ago that was actually not even in Mason County. It was a Mason County resident in Houston, to suddenly they had a explosion. I'm assuming that it was a lot of patients that were in the city council area there. For whatever reason, they had a large number of positives in that group. They have gone from doing very little testing to doing fairly extensive testing in Mason. I believe there was something, they've actually done more testing in Mason now than we've done here in Llano, at least according to the state's website. But again, the number of positives in Mason County in the last week has dropped off. They were getting 3 or 4 a day, and then suddenly in the last week, it's stayed stable, I believe, at 28 cases.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Franklin?
Thank you.
Gilbert, did you have anything to add? You want to talk about the testing on the Wednesday? You're going to have to unmute. Let me unmute you. All right.
Yeah, I just came back from the meeting with the Baptist Church. We are set up to go in Kingsland at the First Baptist Church, 9 to 5 on Wednesday. We're going to have 20 members of the Texas Military National Guard there providing the test. We are going to set up the loop around the Baptist Church there, so it'll have the 3 stations like we had here in Llano. And I will meet them there at 7:30 in the morning on Wednesday. And
Remind everybody, this is not for the antibodies test. It will not tell you if you have had COVID-19. This is for to determine if you are actively, I guess, have COVID-19. Correct, Dr. Franklin?
That is correct, yes. The antibody testing is not being offered through the National Guard testing.
And commissioners, I provided you all with a Llano County and the state of Texas timeline on the orders that have been issued. I think our order expired on the 30th, and we are now under Governor Abbott's 21st General Administrative Order. I provided what supersedes what and what dates everything goes into effect. If you have any questions, it's got hyperlinks on there also. Is there any more questions on COVID-19?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
And Judge, I provided a briefing from the State Operations Center, so all the commissioners have a copy of that briefing.
Okay. Thank you, Gilbert.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to agenda item 5, public hearings, discussion, approval of plats, replats, and vacating of lot or lots. Commissioner Sandoval, you've got 5A.
Yes, sir. 5A is to approve a variance, sir.
Go ahead.
Is to approve a variance to accommodate placement of a manufactured home on lots 31 and 32 in the Bonnie Cove subdivision. A subdivision in Llano County, Texas is shown on the plat recorded in volume 7, pages 2021 of the plat records of Llano County, Texas, which will exceed building setback line and utility easement line only in the northeast corner of lot 32 as shown on Coupland and Associates attached drawing 5C. The Coupland representative and the applicant, Mr. Bob Spraggins, are both on the call, sir. So the Coupland is rec is up.
Not sure which.
There he is, Logan.
Right here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Logan Belk.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Logan.
So mainly we're just wanting a variance to be able to put a manufactured house where it's going to extend over the northeast building setback and utility easement on lot 32.
Logan, how far is it gonna encroach on that easement?
So it's
It's hard to see on this.
Oh, y'all have the copy. So it looks like it's going to be over the setback. It's going to be 6.2 feet, and then over the easement, it's going to be 0.8 feet.
The easement for a roadway, or what is the easement for?
That's the utility line easement
Utility
for
easement.
the.
It's just,
road-
but it's
for the
all,
roadway.
so there's no road easement, it's just a utility easement.
Yes, as far as I know, it's the utility easement for Bonnie Cove Drive on there.
I think it's important to point out that Central Texas Electric gave a release to go over that utility easement. The letter is in the packet.
Is Christy around? Oh, hey, Christy. Do you have any comments on this? Oh, Judge, could you unmute her? Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
everything looks good on this one. It's just gonna be just a variance so that they'll be able to build into the building setback and across that utility easement just a little bit. Floodplain permitting goes afterwards. We'll be able to permit them under the flood damage prevention order requirements.
Okay.
Some of that was breaking up on my end.
Oh, okay. Everything looks good from my office's standpoint. And once they get the variance, if they get the variance approved, they're going to move forward with a replat. And once that's done, then we'll move forward with the floodplain permitting.
So this isn't just okay, so they're gonna replat and then they got floodplain issues also?
Well, it is in the floodplain, so they will be permitted under the flood damage prevention order requirements.
But it will be
Have to
permanent.
get the variance first.
No, I agree, they needed the variance first if
Correct, yes, sir.
it passes, yeah.
Right.
So do we have any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Judge, to approve a variance to accommodate the placement of a manufactured home on lots 31 and 32 in Bonnie Cove subdivision. Subdivision in Llano County, Texas, is shown on the plat recorded in volume 7, pages 20 and 21 of the plat records of Llano County, which will exceed building setback lines and utility easement only in that northwest corner of lot 32, as shown on the Coupland and Associates attached drawing 5C.
Do I have a second?
All seconds, Peter.
Got a
Did you hear
motion?
anybody?
Got a motion by Commissioner Sandoval, second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Commissioner Moss opposed, motion carries. Agenda item 6, discussion action prohibiting or restricting outdoor burning in Llano County. Gilbert, can you give us an update? Gilbert, can you give us an update?
I think he's muted. There you go.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry. Sorry, Judge. There's a major accident east of town here, and they're trying to find somebody to respond.
Can you give us an update on the burning, outdoor burning, Gilbert?
I didn't investigate it as of this morning, but everything right now is status quo because of the moisture that we have had. So there doesn't appear to be any from the report of the state of Texas that I've read of any warnings at this time.
Judge, We do need to remind people of the red flag warning. The wind has been blowing terribly hard.
I did advise the chiefs, we did have a phone call, and I advised the chiefs that they're important in making the call on when we should place a burn. And there was a particular individual that did call in, and we did stop the burn because of the high winds around Buchanan. So just to let you know, we did stop that.
I talked to the fire chief in Llano, and he seemed like he was in favor of placing a burn ban on. I really am too, to be honest, because we have all these winds, and if you look outside, it's brown. It's almost brown. It's not green anymore.
I agree.
I know there's a chance of rain tomorrow and then 2 or 3 other days this week. They're predicting 3 inches, but that means we're going to get 3/10.
Right.
So I think we should, honestly, I think we should consider the burn ban. There's been people have had a lot of time at home. They could, I think they've had a lot of time to burn. I know our county judge did a lot of burning while he was at home quarantined. So I think we should really consider putting on the burn ban at this time. I know that the fire chiefs didn't respond to Gilbert in favor, but what's your opinion, Gilbert?
Well, we're definitely dry. I know where I am, we're dry. And you know what? I could make a quick tally from all the chiefs, and I get back to you on this call.
We can,
I appreciate that.
yeah, we can let you check on that, Gilbert. We'll drop down to 7, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
In just a minute, okay?
All right.
So we'll drop down to agenda item 7. Actually, before we drop down to 7, no, we'll go ahead. We'll drop down to 7. We'll go into executive session. It shouldn't take long. It's just an update. The executive session is going to be to receive legal advice regarding pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers or other legal advice pursuant to 551.071(1) and 2 of the Texas Government Code, including but not limited to the following items: Llano School Land Solar Farm Lease, Hutchins versus Llano County et al. United States District Court, Marshall et al. Versus Llano County et al. United States District Court. Legal advice includes the Texas Local Government Code, the Open Meetings Act and the Public Information Act, the Llano Jail, Employment and Personnel Law, Utility Law, Llano Local Health Authority, Llano School Lands, Procurement, Contract Law, Evidentiary and Procedural Law, Road and Bridge Law, Ethics Law, and General Improvement Law, and any additional federal or state law regarding any item on this open or executive closed session meeting agenda. So we'll go into closed session and then we'll come back on.
We can do that on here?
Yes, sir. Jennifer's about to help us do this. I think. Yeah, there she goes.
Give me just a moment.
Okay.
Judge proposed mediations. We're going into a room, a breakout room.
Yeah.
She said, pass them.
Or we just put everybody in a holding room. We put everybody on hold.
Tell me all who needs to be in here. Is this all?
Yeah, she put us in a waiting. Yeah, she has a new way to do it.
Oh, she does? Oh, I'm sorry.
What about Christy?
You need to step outside.
Do you need Christy in this?
No, I don't think so.
No. Well, I'm not going to be able to hear because I'm going to be out. So is this everybody that needs to be included, or did I take too many people off?
No, that's it. Becky is in here.
Okay. So we're ready to go?
Yeah, I need to figure out how to record this separate. Give me 1 second. This is going to be Becky Lang and Lisa Otto.
Judge, before we get there,
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't mind on the 7 and 8 on the executive session stuff.
Uh-huh.
I disagree. I don't think that should be on our agenda unless it's specific and we need it. I've been on the court a long time, and you can almost count on your hands how many times we've actually been in executive session. So I don't know that needs to be on there like that, because I had people ask me what that was about, and they said it's pretty broad. You can basically talk about anything in there. So my personal opinion, we don't need an executive session agenda item unless there's a need for it. That's just my opinion.
Okay. The thing that I want to do, and it comes from probably from my history on the school board for 7 years, but we always had an executive session option. Sometimes we would go in there and do exactly what we did today, but we can look at it. I'll talk with Matt, and then we'll see if we can't work out something.
But you look at our agenda items now, the others, and in the past, they're all pretty specific about things, and that I just feel like if there's a need for an executive session, we can have it on there. But that's just my opinion.
Okay. Point taken, sir. Drop down to agenda item 9, discussion action, revisions and updates to Llano County Employee Handbook and Llano County Human Resource Policies and Procedures. Lisa, you should be unmuted now. Becky is in here also.
Yep.
Can I say something else?
I'm sorry?
Can I say something else?
You can say whatever you want.
Just also, in my experience in the Commissioner's Court, if it's come from a constituent, or if it comes from a department or an elected official or anyone in the county, the agenda items need to be put on there by a member of the court. And I believe the same goes with like city councils, they're the same way. If a member of city council puts an agenda item on there, they can do it for someone else or another department. And it's always been the same in the county. Normally you would put it on there with Becky Lang or Lisa Otto, or I would put it on there with some.
And you're right, Jay Don, it was my mistake. I had put that one on there and didn't put it on there, and I also put Becky's vehicle request on there, and it didn't go on there. It should have initials RC beside both of those, 9 and 12.
Okay. Can I make a motion on something though at the time for the time being?
Sorry?
Can I make a motion to remove agenda item number 7 and number 8?
Okay. We got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 7 and 8 are removed from the agenda.
Thank you.
Go back down to 9 again. We'll start with Lisa, kind of give us a rundown on where we're at with all this.
Well, the major change is going to be the drug and alcohol policy. We're going from about 3 pages on the current policy to a very extensive policy that Becky's been working on, about 16 pages. And she's had the help of Larry from TAC. He is the risk consultant, and he has helped write this policy along with HR consultant Diana Cecil. And they took this straight out of the, I can't remember the name. Becky, what is that? The
Federal FMCSA?
Yes.
Yep, Federal Motor Center Safety Administration
Right.
regulations.
And it's a policy that the TAC legal team approved, and this is what they pass out to other counties.
So she said,
So that's going to be the major change.
I think Lisa sent this out. I guess last week. Everybody's had a chance to review it, I think.
Judge, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
So the bottom line is, we're hoping that we can hopefully get through the HR manual with you guys today. We went over and some options for the drug and alcohol component. We're going to hit that again today. We did that a number of months ago. But I know Lisa sent out some pages that had to be modified because what we're trying to do is just wrap this up as clean as we can, hopefully walk away from today with the 100% solution, if not one more chance to just get it tightened up if we need to have that opportunity. And Lisa worked really hard with that. So she went ahead and has given you guys a new table of contents and some other documents that had to be approved. The court has already approved the bolus, the guts of the policy, except for the drug and alcohol component to include the CDL component. And that's what we're going to hit in a minute. But I want to make sure y'all, we've been sending some stuff out to the court and didn't want to have everybody confused, Judge, about where we are. So basically, Lisa gave you the nice clean copies of everything that needs to be inserted to update what has already been approved by the court, is my understanding. Right, Lisa?
Yes, there's several things in there, yes.
And that was approved in 2018, Lisa?
Well, let's see. I've got two items that were approved in 2017. One of them is the travel policy, and the other one is the flex time. And then we have the catastrophic event policy that was approved in March of 2019. All those have been approved by the court.
So she just go ahead.
I just have one comment on the travel expenses as far as required continuing education. We have had an issue where questions of out-of-state travel for continuing education, I think we need to address that.
Did that come up? When did, I think it was with somebody wanting to go for continuing education. Is that what you said, Linda?
Yes, out of state. Yes, sir.
And I know we.
I mean, Lisa, I don't have
It.
I don't know when that was approved and what the discussion was going into that, when the court approved that policy, and if they need to go back in and work on a revision.
Well, like I said, that the travel policy was approved in May of 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that particular scenario, that would have been accounts payable. So think on that.
So are we at a position where, Commissioner Rashke, do you have a proposed, I mean, do we have on our agenda item, Judge, does it say discussion and action on this policy?
If I may, that had to do with when the county requires continuing education for a certain position or for an elected official that's required in order to keep their position. That's why we made that definite requirement in that travel policy, because people were using it for unrequired education at their own discretion.
It says it in there and covers it, doesn't it?
Yes.
So you think this is clear enough then, Cindy, to not allow out-of-state travel for continuing education? That's not, but even if it is required.
But out of state has to be approved separately anyway.
So that's just by discretion, you think?
Yes.
Okay, is everyone else good with that?
I am.
Okay.
Approved by the Commissioner's Court?
Correct.
Okay.
I have, my thoughts are different than yours, Ms. Lang, on the drug policy, because the best I remember, I thought that we were presented three options to talk. We talked about it, and then I believe Commissioner Roski, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I believe that she had recommended a workshop on this, and that's where we were at. You know, in that drug policy, it talks about budgeted things and unknown budgeted items. I think we need a drug policy, a drug and alcohol testing policy But I think we need to do a little more work on this because it's about as clear as mud to me, to be honest. I've read those documents that we were sent, but there's one thing for sure. We're probably going to have to get some sort of bid or some pricing to find out what it's going to cost us. And it talks about it in the policy, in the highlighted highlighted paragraphs. But I don't see how we could approve that drug policy right now without knowing what it's going to cost and how it'll affect the budget. And I would like to have a workshop about it also, and where we can talk about it a little bit more.
We can do that. Which commissioners are over the update of the employee handbook and the policies? Is there a commissioner who has worked on that with Lisa? Who's worked on it with you, Lisa?
Not
The
me.
handbook? Nobody. I mean, I've worked with TAC, and we've met with TAC a couple of times, Becky and I and Cindy. These
Okay.
recommendations came from TAC to update it. A lot of the content is from our old policy. We just inserted some of the updates. Becky worked on the civil rights to add to the equal opportunity.
Here's the thing I don't want to do. I don't want us to meet and have a workshop and tell Lisa she needs to go back and do more work without any help. If she's done a lot of work right now, I think this hasn't been updated for quite a while, and we need to get it done.
Judge, I think you misunderstood me because I wasn't talking about the whole policy. I don't have an issue with the personnel policy. I just have I want to make sure that we're all clear on the drug policy portion. So I feel like we can approve this policy, personnel policy, with the exception of the drug policy, just because I don't know, we've seen it, we've gotten it emailed to us, but we meet as a governing body and talk about things, and we have not done that on that. The last time, Ms. Lang, there was 3 options, I believe, that we had talked about before.
Right.
And I thought we were going to have a workshop on it and then talk about it. And I think we need one, and I appreciate the work that y'all done on this. But so I think we can approve the personnel policy, the things that's incorporate the things the Commissioner's Court has improved and the state.
So, okay, very good. We can definitely get that set up. If y'all don't mind, we do have on the call with us, just since he's here, I want to give y'all kind of an introductory before we head into a workshop, hopefully very soon. Larry, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Boccaccio, from TAC. And so there's going to be 2 components to the drug and alcohol policy when we do sit down and workshop. And one of them is going to be what we do internally for all of our employees. And then there's a component of it that's specific to CDL holders that really, we must follow the federal regulations on that. And that's where the TAC advisors came in to help us a lot on this. And we just have taken what they are using throughout the state based on the federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations. So that's why I brought him along just today. And there's a lot of, like Lisa said, there's a number of pages to that part of it. So if you don't mind, may I let him just say hello to the court and give a very short overview about where we are in the state of Texas on CDL drug and alcohol testing? Is that okay, Judge?
Yes, you're unmuted, Larry.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
I've talked with Becky on several occasions, with Lisa on numerous other ones. What they're discussing on the CDL drug testing policy is mainly for your road and bridge employees. Anybody that drives a vehicle in excess of 26,001 pounds is required to be in the CDL pool, and there are other tests that go along with this. In fact, excuse me, there are 6 tests that actually comprise the CDL drug and alcohol program. You've got pre-employment, you've got reasonable suspicion, you have post-accident, you have let's see, where am I? Random follow-up and return to duty. In the last two, the follow-up and the return to duty, depending on what the county policy is as far as testing positive, you may never even get to those, because I have numerous counties that are zero tolerance policies. And if you test positive, there's the door. They don't give people a second chance. And I'm not sure what y'all's is, but
We're not either.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, once all this stuff blows over, I'd be glad to come do a workshop with y'all. And we can sit down and look at this. I can tell you where it came from. The bulk of it, like they said, and I'll hold it up, is right out of that guy right there, which is the J.J. Keller's Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regs. It's part 40 and part 382 out of the federal regs, are the actual parts that it references. So as far as where we are with drug testing right now, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration just this year has implemented what's called a clearinghouse. And the clearinghouse is a depository of the history of someone that drives a CDL vehicle that's tested. The counties, the governmental entities even, will be required to check their CDL operators once a year through this clearinghouse. That's something that's done with basically a consent form. And there are two types of tests. There's a limited query and there is a full query. To get to the limited query, the employee just has to authorize you to do that. To get to a full query, if you do a limited query and something pops up and there is a history there that, for whatever the case it may be, then you're required to do a full query. And in order to do that, you have to have the employees go onto the website, sign up for it, and allow it through the actual website. All CDL operators have to be tested by January 7th, 2021. So I don't know, you'll probably have 25, maybe 30 tops?
20.
Yeah, so good guess. But yeah, all 20 of those have to be run through the clearinghouse and checked, almost before year's end.
Larry, is that done through the random at 10% where we have to get them all done?
It's actually not, well, it's not associated with any of the tests per se, as much as it is the driver's history. So I'll give you an example. For the first 3 years, if you hire a new CDL employee, that the county is required to manually check with their previous employer to see if they have any drug or alcohol violations. When 2023 rolls around, that manual check drops off and everything will be done electronically through the clearinghouse. So basically, it's just a check of the history as to what's there. My AC just kicked on, so it may sound like a tunnel.
So I think you drove home the point for Commissioner Moss's need that we need to have a workshop on that part. And I think that one's an easy enough fix. We can line up a time. We can have Commissioners Court jump into a workshop and then come out of the workshop and hopefully keep moving forward in a positive direction.
I'd be glad to come do it.
Does that mean what you were asking for, Jerry Don?
Yes, sir. And like in here, there's 2 or 3 different options that we could take. still in this policy that I'm looking at here that we were sent. And I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. It's, the CDL really didn't, that wasn't my point. I knew that Richard had told me that the CDL stuff was, they're going to have to start doing that before long. So that's not, I wasn't talking about the CDL employees with the CDL license. I'm talking about the other normal, regular employees. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay. No.
It'll be more clear when we have a workshop.
Okay. So,
and, a good time to do that, judges. And if we could figure out some pricing on some of this, or at least a guesstimate, we'll have budget workshops before long. I'm assuming it's May, so we should start that pretty quick, so we could go ahead and consider that price in our budget while we're doing it.
okay. Okay. So do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion. Rebecca, will you make sure I make it right? I just want to make a motion to approve the personnel policy as presented, except for the drug and alcohol portion. Does that work? Okay.
I think we can do that. I think I don't have the agenda in front of me. That looks fine. And could we?
Are we going to,
discussion pending workshop?
No, we don't need an agenda item for that. We don't need a motion for that. That'd just be a separate agenda item sometime.
Okay. What, Linda?
Oh, I thought Lisa had a question.
I was just going to ask on the drug and alcohol policy. Becky, do you want that incorporated into the policy, or is it going to be a freestanding policy?
I think it should be part of the HR policy. So you can just approve that.
It's really not an HR policy. It's a commissioner's court policy.
It's a county policy, yeah.
Yeah, county policy.
I'll second the motion.
What's that, you, Peter? Okay.
Is that Peter?
Say I'd second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 10.
I just want to say, I think that's well done, Lisa. That's a good update on the policy so far.
Beautiful
Thank
job,
you.
Lisa, and I know how hard you've worked on it, so thank you very much.
Thank you. And I've got automatic notifications from several resources. If the state or federal law changes, I will get a notification. So we'll stay on top of these changes.
Good.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Agenda item 10, discussion action approval of the Capital Area Emergency Communications District CAPCOG interlocal agreement for 911 Geographic Information Database Management System. This is the program that we're currently doing. If you all recall, we had this program in place, and I guess last June, I think it was, CAPCOG came in and said that we needed to be doing more with the program. We were slated to get, I think we get reimbursed up to $40,000 at the time. I went in and we negotiated with CAPCOG, and because of the extra work, we were able to raise that price. They've come out with a new contract. It has new requirements that we're required to meet, and that's what we're doing right now with Deanna and with Sterling Harris with BIS Consulting. And that's what we need to do, is just approve this contract to keep going with the 911 GIS program.
So this is the same thing we've been doing. That's right.
It's the same thing we've been doing, but now we've gotten it raised, I think, by about $27,000 a year.
We're now at $67,918.60.
Yes, sir.
What I read. All right. Okay, so that's good.
And what it does, just for clarification, is anytime you call somewhere from 911 on a landline and they're getting to where they can triangulate it with the towers on cell phones also, but it's ensuring that when you call into the 911 system that it pops up correctly on the address. And it's a lot of deconflicting that information, if you will, from, I guess, old addresses or incorrect addresses that are going down some of these county roads that the numbers jump around and stuff. So anytime they make a call or anything like that that the deputies get out there and they say, yes, it's not on the west side of the road, it's on the east side of the road, or it's not at this location, it's at this location. They're able to go in and correct that in pretty much real time to where we won't have the same mistake again. So it's a requirement from CapCog that we do this.
That's good. That's a good thing for sure.
Yes. I'll move that we approve.
So you need a motion.
I was going to do it. I'll make a motion
Go
to
ahead.
approve the Capital Area Emergency Communications District CapCog interlocal agreement for 911 Geographic Information System Database Management.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Yes, second.
Mr. Jones? Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 11, discussion action, regional planning study, Texas Indigent Defense Commission. This is a program that currently Burnett County has going with the Indigent Defense Program. And PDCJ has come out and offered a grant, which would cover approximately 66% of the county's expenses on that. And that's what we're looking at today. We've got Michelle on the phone. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. Jennifer sent us all an email and said it was only supposed to be discussion, remove action.
It should be just discussion at this time.
Sorry to interrupt. But
Yeah, what I wanted to do was get Michelle on here she's with the Burnett Indigent Defense, and let her explain the program a little bit. Michelle, you should be unmuted.
Okay, sounds good. I'm Michelle Moore. I'm the Chief Public Defender over at Burnett County at the Public Defender's Office there. This year, for the first time, TIDC has offered a grant that would, for multi-county rural areas, would pay for 80% for funding in the areas that have not had a public defender's office for the first year, and then 50% forever, as long as they have money, is what they tell me, for the remainder of indigent defense with those counties that sign on. So what we'd like to do is try to get this region to include Burnett, you guys in Llano, and San Saba to come in as a multi-county public defender's office so that we could apply for the grant, save cost in the long run. I think you all got the study that TIDC did, and so they have projected for Llano that the savings for the first year would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $74,000. In the second year, when that percentage goes down, they're estimating a cost savings of $34,000. So the way that we've got it set up, I believe that we can provide really fast, good quality representation for y'all. And I think one of our big selling points about this is that we can get people out of the jail faster.
It's a program where we're looking at it right now. I've talked with the other county judges. They're all interested in furthering the discussions. It's not any slight on any of the attorneys we currently have now working with us. It's strictly a cost savings that we're looking at and bringing efficiencies into the program.
Is this a pool of defenders come from this regional group, or what does it mean?
Michelle would have eight attorneys, I think. Michelle, you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Right. So the way that we would have it set up, we would have 8 attorneys. We would cover felony, misdemeanor, appellate, and juvenile. So we would have the gamut. It does not include, we wouldn't be able to cover conflicts. For example, if you had a case with co-defendants, we couldn't cover all of those. So we could only cover one person. But we do have death penalty experience all the way down. So you've got a huge gamut of experience with the people that were coming in.
And there's probably about, conflicted out would be about 15%, is that correct?
Correct.
So like I say, it's just something we're looking at right now. We're trying to just, I guess, get the information to you all and let you start looking at it and start thinking about it. But it's something that if we could get this program going, it would give us a significant cost savings, I think, in the long run. And the thing is
Does the current,
go ahead, Peter.
let's say, on the current list of defending the public defenders that we have that we call on as needed for indigent, are they not eliminated from this effort, or do they still be on call as needed? Or
Well, and let me tell you this, it doesn't, I definitely would have to hire several attorneys in order to do this job. My other thing that I was looking at was that we would need to set up an office in Llano, much like what Richard Davis has right now. Richard, I imagine, would still stay available for appointments for any of those conflicts. So, and there's a possibility that some of those people would come on board with us if that's what they wanted to do.
You dropped off, I think, but what Michelle said was that we could still use those attorneys. There'll be conflicts where we have to hire them anyway, and she'll be looking to hire attorneys also for her program. And also, I would add that this program, it's on a year-to-year basis, and that if we determine that it's not going to be successful, we could drop out. But just if you all would, this was discussion only, if you would just look through this. If you have any questions, get them back to me, or get them back to, I guess, get them to Becky probably. So, and we'll get them,
Sure.
we'll get them compiled and we'll get them answered in the next commissioner's court.
I'm trying to look at my budget, but do y'all know what we spend right now? That
220, Cindy, is that what we got budgeted for indigent?
a year?
Yes, sir. I think it's 220.
We have 220,000 budgeted this year. We spent 147 last year. Some of the numbers in this packet that we were given don't quite jive with what I show in the general ledger. I wasn't consulted on any of this, so I'm not sure. But I've come up with some different numbers than what show on this projection, but we can go over that at a later time.
Yeah, this would be another thing that could use a workshop probably.
Yeah, we need to get it, and we'll get Michelle and get somebody from TDCJ over here. Is that who does it, Michelle?
TIDC.
TIDC, I'm sorry.
Right. The only thing that I would, we're in a little bit of a rush in trying to put the application in for the grant. That is, our hard date is for June 1st on that. But, who knows if we would get approved on the grant or anything like that. But I would be glad to come up there at any point in time and go through what we do, what I'm kind of envisioning, how we work. So, and I would encourage you, I've worked with Becky, I've worked with Matt, I've worked with Sunny, who's on here. So if you have questions about how our office runs, please don't hesitate to ask any of them.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
So we'll schedule a workshop. I guess with the time crunch, we would need to do a special meeting. Probably would be the most efficient thing to do.
Yeah, because our next meeting is the 26th, I guess.
Yeah, I'll check with Michelle. We'll see if we can't line up a time. Then we'll line up a time with you all also, or if we can't knock this out, because I know she's got to do the grant, or we've got to get the grant going. So time is of the essence, I guess, is the best way to describe that. So that was discussion only. So that will drop us down to agenda item 12, discussion action relating to Llano County Attorney's request to purchase replacement vehicle for investigator environmental control section. Becky, you,
So Judge, this is a vehicle request to replace the 2008 Ford, which was our original vehicle that our office was provided when the Commissioner's Court entrusted the environmental enforcement component into my office. And that would have been about 5 years ago, I guess. It currently has 154,756 miles on it. And at the end of January, after it's been in and out of the shop more often than not over the past handful of years, going through tires pretty frequently, it's become unsafe for my officers to drive. And so I just had them park it early part of February. They went out and got an estimate for what the most immediate requirement would be to get it back on the road. It was $1,977.39, and that's for the front end repair. In addition to that, which I did not put on my report to you guys, it was my oversight, new tires would have to be bought, and that's another $1,000. So it's, just over almost $3,000 to get it back on the road relatively safe. And so given that, I thought as a steward of the resources for the county, it was important for me to come and visit and say, hey, before we spend $3,000 or so to get it back on the road, is it possible to look at just going ahead and getting a replacement vehicle at this point in time? I didn't know mid-budget cycle what was out there. And I think Judge Cunningham, you let me know that there was a possibility, not an expectation, but a possibility that perhaps there could be some funds available at this point in time to go ahead and get that vehicle replaced. So I'll move forward with my request or my ask of the court at this point in time. If we can get another vehicle back on the road. Right now, we're borrowing Christie's over at her environmental piece of it, the inspection side of the house, whenever she doesn't need it. And it's a little Tahoe, it's an Explorer type vehicle. So we pieced it together, trying to make things work. But if we could get that other vehicle, I think it'd help us get back on the street and in robust fashion now that COVID's fading away. Whenever we had the COVID enforcement came out of my office, he actually rode in the vehicle with the Sheriff's Department for that 3 weeks when they were out in the community doing the education, because they didn't have this vehicle at that point in time. I have Officer James Brown here in the room with me. Thank you, Cindy, for trying to help us navigate buy board, which is something we've never had to do before. We have a general idea. We're not looking for anything high dollar fancy. It looks like anywhere between 18,900 and just shy of 21,000 could get an extended cab vehicle. They have some Chevrolets. The Fords are coming in at about 17,100, but they are not extended cab, and they need that space for some equipment and things that they need to be able to store and keep in their vehicle when they're out and about. So it's just the request from my office, my safety of the officers, and helping the expectation of the community to be able to fully comply with what we're supposed to be doing for the county at this point in time in a safe fashion.
So you have actual prices on vehicles then?
We pulled up the local government purchasing cooperative, Caldwell County Chevrolet, Gun Chevrolet, and Lake County Chevrolet are those ones that have the 18,900 to 20,000 plus. Officer Brown tried to get in touch with them. They've not returned calls between Thursday, Friday, and then this morning. But we do have off the buy board. We did go into the, Cindy may have been able to find more information about Fords. We were thinking perhaps there'd be some competitive bidding there, but I'm not finding an equivalent vehicle on the Ford side of the house based on what we pulled off the buy board right now. And this is, just so you know, these vehicles, Commissioner Moss, I'm not familiar with trucks. So Chevrolet Colorado extended cab is the Chevrolet that we've gotten that pricing for in that lower range. I was trying to keep it under 20,000 was my goal, just to be reasonable for the county's resources.
I'm definitely a Chevrolet guy, but those little Colorado things, they're smaller vehicles. Was it a four-wheel drive?
No, nothing, just two-wheel drive, extended cab.
But I would think that vehicle would need to be a four-wheel drive if we're going to get another.
Is the current one a four-wheel drive? The one we're replacing is not four-wheel drive, and in fact, our new one is not four-wheel drive either.
I think Neff and Billy have the only two four-wheel drives that we have.
Yeah. I know, but you know, really and truly, for a little bit more, I mean, you almost, I think for an environmental officer especially, or code enforcement, there's no telling where they may have to go at some point. So if we moved toward a new vehicle, I think that we should go ahead and move forward with a newer vehicle. And cheaper is not always better. You know, I believe the vehicles like the Road and Bridge get, I'm not suggesting we need one that size, because they're 3/4 ton and 1 ton vehicles. So, but you know, they're around that 33,000 mark, I believe. But I mean, if we need a new vehicle, I don't think we need to go find the cheapest thing that won't necessarily work. In just my opinion.
Oh, I did, I apologize. I did go onto Kelly Blue Book and provide for the court the trade-in value and the estimated trade-in value and the estimated private party resale. So of course the trade-in 17.6 to 25.9, 2,598. And when I say 17.6, I mean 1,767.
Yeah.
And then the private party resale is 4,435. So that's why I hate to put any more money into it, but thank you, Commissioner Moss. I mean, I don't think the officers would object to having more versatility in their vehicle, but we definitely want to be, you know, whatever's fiduciary on behalf of the county and the citizens. That's what we're just asking.
Judge, when she mentioned that where would money be, where would you get that from?
Cindy, do we have, where are we at with the money that we have in the, I guess, the tax note or the tax?
In the tax notes, we have $55,580 left in what was, what we didn't need to pay off the other vehicles. We just moved some to cover the 2 vehicles we're buying for Road and Bridge. But I stuck that leftover money and unallocated in the tax notes that we could transfer to fleet vehicles if you decided that's what you wanted to do.
With this one?
Yes.
Would that need to, I'm just thinking about motion stuff. Do we need to, I guess we need to actually get specs and all and do all that before we would approve to buy one. Is that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's what we were, I talked with Cindy last week. We were trying to get it where we could get it all done in one commissioner's court, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it on this. We need to give them some type of direction on what we could do and how much we could spend.
Judge Peter, just wanted to comment. It seems that the vehicle is not worth repairing. For $3,000 to repair a $2,500 vehicle doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm in agreement that we need to replace it, and I agree also that the specific specs need to be presented for approval to do so.
Okay. So we can dig down on that, and we'll bring it before the court on the next court and get you guys something.
Judge, do we at least want to vote to approve them purchasing a vehicle so that they don't have to come back and get approval for that at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. I just, before we do that motion, I think you should look into getting a 4-wheel drive, a half-ton 4-wheel drive of some sort, extended cab.
So if it pleases the court, can y'all, I mean, I don't know, I've never done this before. Can y'all give us some right-left boundaries? Because if in our mind, we're thinking don't go over, do y'all ever do that? Or do I go out and pull, Cindy, I'm sure you're going to guide us on this, but I don't have my guys go look at $38,000 trucks and then we're way out of the ballpark. So whatever y'all can offer, we welcome any feedback.
38,000 is way out of the ballpark. Yeah. So, you know, you could probably get one like that. I'm guessing, but you're probably going to get one from the 27 to 31 or so thousand is what I would think. I mean, you don't need a decked out vehicle, of course, but like bridge vehicles, they're the work version trucks. The same kind of, my personal pickup is the same kind. It's a extended cab, but it's a 3/4 ton, but it's 4-wheel drive. They're plain Jane. The only extra they come with is a backup camera. But I mean, I would look at one of those type of vehicles myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I add a question and a statement, please?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I just happened to be looking through the paper. The Ford and Chevrolet dealers have new 2019s that are still stranded on their lots. Can we not look at maybe looking at a new 2019 versus a 2020? There could be some savings in that respect. And you know, that Marble Falls Buick Chevrolet dealer over there, he has some 19 still on his lot.
We either have to do sealed bids or buy from a co-op or the buy board.
We can't just
Well, could you not?
off a lot.
But you could advertise for bids for a new 2019.
You could.
I mean, you got Hoff Power up in, what is it, Lampasas, and you got all these Chevrolet dealers around here. Maybe they'd want to save the county more money. It's a thought.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the county attorney's office to purchase a replacement vehicle. And then later on will be we'll have to approve the specs and all that and the price and everything.
I'll second.
Oh, who did that? Give it to Peter.
That was Peter.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Agenda item 13. Commissioner Jones.
Judge, let me, then Commissioner Rasky and I named on this one. Let me just talk to this a moment and I'll read the thing. We've been working on the subdivision regulations, as you know, for quite some time. This agenda item is, and I'll read it, is approval of Llano County infrastructure requirements for recreational vehicle parks, including fees and general drainage requirements for Llano County subdivision regulations. And the committee, myself, Commissioner Rasky, Matt Reinstrahl, Deputy County Attorney, and Christy Vault have been working on this for some time. This is a section of a subdivision regulation. So what we're trying to do is take a piece of the regulation, look at the revisions that we need to make to it, and then see if we can get general approval from the Commission on this section of it and build it into the subdivision regulations that subsequently will be presented to the Commission's court in a public hearing, et cetera, for final approval. So it's trying to take a bite of the regulation at this in time to try and move forward on this part of it at least. You did get a copy of that in your package. Hopefully you had a chance to read it. Matt and Christy have done a lot of work working on it. Commissioner Rasky and I have met with them multiple times and we completed edits. So this is coming to a kind of a final draft for input from the Commissioner's Court. And this time I'd ask that maybe Matt would weigh in on the issues that have been addressed in this. Let's talk about the RV park regulation supplement first of all. Matt, are you available?
I am. Commissioner, would you clarify some? Well, would you go ahead and clarify what we talked about earlier?
Yeah, Matt and I visiting with this, we decided that probably today we should just do a discussion item on this. We have, as Peter said, Matt and Christy have just drilled down on this extensively. I think Matt has some ideas that he wants to visit with us about today. So I'm not so sure that we need to take an action today, right, Matt?
Correct. And Commissioner Jones, let me apologize. When I was looking at this again last night and this morning, I did some more drafting to try to make it clear to persons that will be affected by this set of regulations so that the applicant, if you will, has some very clear boundaries and has a clear idea of how they're to go through the development, through the commissioner's court, and then through Christie's office to get a proposed RV park built and going forward as a going concern. But in general, commissioners, what Commissioner Rashke and Commissioner Jones and I and Christie have come up with has been basically the same form that we have been talking about for almost 3 years, except we've added the key thing in light of last year, I believe it was, the Boxwood discussion. We have added under the definition of a recreational vehicle, the provision that makes a tiny home, or what's known as a park model recreational vehicle, specifically under federal regulation, also a recreational vehicle. And therefore, these park model home parks would fall under the infrastructure requirements for recreational vehicle parks. In light also of the provisions that we are contending with in subdivision regulations, where the Commissioner's Court has a limited amount of time to approve that, we felt it was only proper and just and consistent with the overarching division regulation requirements under 232.0025 to make the process more effective and consistent. And so what we've done there is we have provided that the applicant submits a completed infrastructure development plan along with their fees. If it is a completed infrastructure development plan, then it will be placed, and they publish their notice 15 days before the meeting. The Commissioner's Court can either approve or reject the IDP. If they reject it, then they have to then the Commissioner's Court would give reasons, or guidance, if you will, the reasons being what was wrong with that needs to be fixed. There would then be, after they get their plan approved, they would then have to get the necessary permits, and then they could begin construction of the recreational vehicle park. At any time during the development of the park, the Commissioner's Court, individuals, or more specifically, the Development Services Department, that is Christie, or Deanna, or I guess Katie now, would go out and be inspecting it as it was being developed. And the developer or could not stop them from coming on the premises. If they did, that would be a reason to reject the certificate of compliance. So as you know from looking at this, you have to first get the IDP, the infrastructure development plan, approved by the court. The developer then pulls the necessary permits and then begins construction. At any time during the construction, we would be inspecting. Once they certify in writing to the Development Services Department that the infrastructure is complete, the Development Services Department would go out and do a final inspection. Now, here's the new thing that we are proposing to the court. If the inspector determines that the development plan or the construction has adhered to the development plan, then it will be the Development Services Department that issues the certificate of compliance. And once the certificate of compliance is issued, within. Yes, sir.
You're breaking up bad on my end. Like,
I'm sorry.
the last couple sentences you said, I don't have no idea what that was.
Can you hear me now? Tell you what.
Yeah, it comes and goes. I don't know if it's just a connection there or what, but it comes and goes.
All right. Who else is having a problem?
Yeah, we're all, you're
Yeah.
fading in and out, Matt. Oh, it-
Tell you what, let me-
No, I mean, we're getting it. No, no, you're not.
locked up again. Completely locked up.
We go get him.
He's disappeared.
Nice.
I think he's gonna come down here. I'll let him have the seat.
That's a pretty good trick.
Yeah.
He's coming
Very
down. For those of you that didn't see it, his screen locked up and he was on there and then the next minute he's gone.
They thought you were going downstairs to see him.
No.
Yeah, he's coming down here.
It says his bandwidth is low, whatever that means.
We knew that. And we're still.
Mr. Jones, I wouldn't laugh. It says yours is
Folks, I'm going to have to sign off. I've got a 3:00 meeting coming up.
Okay, thank you for joining.
Thanks,
You're
Larry.
welcome. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Christy, is he coming down here?
Yes, he's coming now.
Okay, he's coming. Well, he's on his way down here, and there he is. Hey, there's 3 of us in here, so our bandwidth can't be low.
Okay. Can y'all hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. Sorry about that. All right.
So we heard you up until they'll issue the certificate.
Okay. So once the construction is completed, the Development Services Department will inspect it. And if it passes the inspection, then within 7 business days, the department will issue the certificate of compliance. And that will allow the developer to begin operations as the RV park. And then we have in there the infrastructure requirements. The big one is the main issue or the main thing that we've added that we think everyone's going to like is the drainage provision. In that one, that's on page 5, the drainage plan will have to be designed and prepared by a professional engineer registered in Texas. And that will be done by the applicant, not by, and so we will get a drainage plan that's been prepared by an engineer that shows the drainage of water off the property. It will have the requirement that they have to use a minimum of a 10-year storm frequency, and that it does not have a negative impact on neighboring properties. And further, it has to be in accordance with our Llano County flood damage prevention order.
Y'all done a good job on this.
We did look at the Van Zant. The reason we wanted to get this to you, as Commissioner Jones said, we wanted to start taking this process apart and giving y'all an opportunity to review these regulations in smaller chunks, and then come together and then have, I guess, one final workshop if necessary, but otherwise just get this approved. We also have provided in there that the operator has to be identified, that information has to be on the RV park sign, or if they have a building, where they're conducting operations out of, that they have that information within their building. But we're not requiring that the operator or the owner of the property that's developing this RV park have anything more than just identifiable lots for the RVs themselves. If they want to have a on-site office, they can. If they want to have on-site bathrooms and showers, they can do that. Unlike Van Zandt County, which is what Mr. Bass sent us, where they have a requirement that they have a building and service building and showers and bathrooms for use other than what's available in the RV itself.
So just so I'm clear, is this discussion only, or is this going to be discussion and action for approval of the RV?
This is just discussion today.
Okay.
Why don't you want to approve it, Matt?
Well, the reason I don't want to prove it is because what I have come to realize that it would be better for us to make this an appendix in the same way that we have the manufactured home regulations as an appendix. We also have the fees that will be part and parcel of this park infrastructure requirements will be part of the fee regimen that will be generally will be in general for all development fees for the county. So it'll be just under the subdivision regulations. It'll be one order. If you notice on your packet, you have an order and then the infrastructure requirements. So there'll be just one order for subdivision regulations, which will include the appendixes, the original set of appendixes.
Well, thank y'all. It looks good to me.
Matt, I want to ask you just a clarification for us and everybody.
Yes, sir.
And that is on the tiny homes issue. It doesn't state in here the word tiny homes, as far as I can tell. It says on the page 3, on the definition of a recreational vehicle, item number 2, 400 square feet or less when measured in the largest horizontal projections. Is that a tiny home definition?
Where are you reading, sir?
I'm looking at page 3, and it's under definitions. Item 3, and it's under recreational vehicle definitions.
Yes, sir.
And it says vehicle which is, number 1, built on a single chassis, and number 2, 400 square feet or less when measured at the largest horizontal projections. That's a tiny home. That one, that definition.
Commissioner, I believe that's correct. I left my book upstairs in the courtroom when I came down here to talk to y'all, so that I was more clear. That under definition E, a recreational vehicle exempt per 24 CFR 3282.15, i.e. a park model recreational vehicle.
Sorry, I'm not, where is that list?
It's on page 4.
Next page, page 4.
E.
Under item D? What is E?
E.
D is in Edward.
All right. Are you there?
Well, that's the infrastructure plan. I'm on page 4.
Letter E.
Under item E. Oh.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Under recreational vehicle exempt per 24 CFR, etc. Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
That's the tiny home is just the street name for them, if you will. The park model recreational vehicle is what's used in the CFRs to describe the tiny home.
Okay. Good.
It might not hurt though, and Mr. Jones may be right, it may not hurt to just add tiny home in parentheses there also.
Absolutely. I'll do it.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
i.e. the tiny home. Okay, got it. Christy's here also, if you have any questions for her. I mean, she's upstairs on my computer in the courtroom.
Thank both of you very, very much. I know how diligently you guys have worked on this, and it's been relentless. And Peter.
Oh, yeah.
In a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it.
So just so I'm clear, we're discussion only. Oh, we're going to need a workshop on this, or are you all good with?
I don't think we will. I think we can just add, when we go through our workshop, tell me if I'm wrong, Matt, for the subdivision regulations, just so long as we're all clear on where we are with this and we add it to our regulations.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. One other thing, we wanted to talk to you. We wanted to talk to you about drainage. Remember, I talked to you about drainage earlier. We struggled with the term drainage over the last few years because we had never had an engineer. We never developed a set of drainage requirements for the county, yet that was a requirement and is a requirement in our current regulations. So what we proposed as a group is that not only in these RV park regulations, we make it mandatory that there be a drainage plan developed by the applicant's engineer to be added to either the plat for a new subdivision and manufactured homes going forward. So that's also in your packet, I believe, that we've added. And we just wanted to make sure that that y'all didn't need to discuss that, or if you wanted to discuss it, we were ready to discuss it with you.
I think we have had a workshop on these. I know y'all remember.
Yes, sir.
So I think that we've discussed most of this. And I haven't seen anything that was supposed to be in there that's left out.
Okay.
Myself.
Well, I think we, as a committee, we decided that the wording, this is on page 5, item B, under infrastructure requirements, drainage, that is the standard wording that we will put in all of the basic subdivision, manufactured homes, RV park regulations. It's the same wording, other than changing out the, in this case, MHRC changes up the
right. That's
the wording
what I spotted this morning.
We agree would be standard, across the board, and that puts the emphasis on the engineer of the developer to provide the study on it.
Correct.
I do think I like them, but I think we need to be prepared because it's going to be probably pretty expensive for these people to hire engineers to do this. But I think that as well. I asked the road width and the drainage is one of my big deals. Anytime we have a RV park come to Commissioner's Court, so I think y'all did a good job.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you again, Matt and Christy.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks all 4 of you.
Yes.
That's a long time coming.
We're getting there. We're closing in.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we're going to have a workshop on the employee handbook. We're going to have a workshop on the Indigent Defense Commission offer, and we're going to have a workshop on the subdivision regulations. Is that
just the drug policy, not the entire budget handbook? I mean,
yeah,
just the drug policy.
Okay.
But I think we're not ready for the subdivision regulations yet, are we, guys?
No, what we're going to do as a committee is we're going to go back and Christy and I are going to call you and Peter right after this meeting and advise you as to what we think the next area we need to drill down on.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need to have a workshop. I think y'all need to have a workshop.
Yes, sir.
every week, it seems like.
Yeah, I know, this is,
Y'all have
yeah.
been doing a lot. Thank you for.
And I'm gonna go shopping for trucks with you, Jerry Don, because you know.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got one.
so that'll close 13. We need to move back up to 6, prohibiting or restricting outdoor burning in Llano County. Gilbert, you with us?
I'm with you. Yeah.
Talk to us.
So the KBDI is at 200 to 300, and I've also emailed this to you, the maps from the Forestry Service. We are at moderate fire danger at this time. Jason Hackworth from Precinct 4 recommends that we put on the burn ban because of the dryness in the area in the upper portion of the county. Horseshoe Bay recommends it off if we get some rain. So he's kind of got a second part to his if, you know. So Kingsland's off and Sunrise Beach says off. But, you know, I feel like in my area of Horseshoe Bay, it's pretty dry. So I would vote to put it on myself. So.
It's dry in my area.
It's,
And we have had a couple, just to let you know, we have had a couple of fires, and, you know, fortunately, they didn't get away from us, you know, but Jason said, had we had a little wind, they'd have never stopped the one that, and it's, you know, the guys out there cutting the grass, you know, is where the tractors are starting to fire. So we gotta pay attention to that.
Yeah, you know, of course, a burn ban isn't going to stop any of that. But you know, if we put a burn ban on, and say it rains this week, like they're talking, you know, Judge, you do have the authority to lift it if you wanted to on your own.
Yeah.
So the counties around us, the nearest county around us with burn ban is Brown, Coleman, Concho, Comanche, and Menard. Everybody around us is off, so we'd be leading the way in those around us. And if I wish I could have the date that we set it off last year, but I think we're about the same time. I think we put it on last year about this same time. So.
You know, the problem, if you put it on and take it off and put it on and take it off, that's always kind of a problem. People are confused, but there's a lot of fuel out there.
Yeah, it's high fuel too. So it's.
So is that a motion, J-Don?
It is. I'll make a motion that we instate the burn ban effective immediately today.
Got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we got a motion. We got any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Motion carries with Commissioner Sandoval opposing. I think we're to the point, we've had the Commissioners Courts rescheduled to 1 o'clock on Mondays. The reason for that was because we didn't know how bad COVID-19 was going to get. And so what we were trying to do was have time, so if something occurred over the weekend, that we could deal with it and be prepared for Commissioners Court in time to tell you what the actions were that we were taking. Dr. Franklin and Gilbert and Bobby Mims and James Brown have been phenomenal at preparing our county for COVID-19. I think we're back to the point where we can start meeting in a social distancing compliance in the district courtroom. So we'll start trying to meet again on Mondays at 9 a.m. in the district courtroom. We may have to move that meeting location from time to time just to comply with the district court and family court and the different courts that are going on. But I think it's time we try to get back to some type of normalcy, and we'll try and get back to the 9 o'clock that everybody's used to.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll conclude Commissioners Court. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.